Spence did beat Pacquiao, is he going to get the credit? And obviously, this is based on opinions. I think if he beats a good Manny Pacquiao on the night, and it's a tough fight, and and Spence really does beat, the Pacquiao that beat Furman or even better, I think people will give him the credit. But there's always if he does completely destroy Manny Pacquiao, which I definitely don't think he does. I'm actually, one of the many people that thinks Pacquiao's going to beat him, but I could be biased. I'm a Pacquiao fan. But I was just thinking about that. It must be difficult, wasn't it? Because it's not your fault if you're Errol Spence and you're going up against a legend and then you beat him. But it's a really difficult one. I think it's one that we always have a hard time accepting in boxing. I remember when I saw, because Sugar Ray Leonard is in my list of one of my favourite fighters. Obviously, a little bit before my time, but I managed to still go back and watch his fights. And I didn't really like seeing Hector Camacho, stop a technical knockout Ray Leonard. I kind of couldn't accept it. And I think Leonard was 40 then. He wasn't in his prime. He wasn't in his prime. He was past it. And we've seen it happen many times for a lot of people who love De La Hoya. When Pacquiao destroyed De La Hoya, some people would have said De La Hoya wasn't quite in his prime. But it's just one of the things that happens in boxing. But I'm finding it hard to accept. It's heartbreaking for me because I don't want to see Pacquiao get old overnight and then get beaten. But let's just say that it's a super competitive fight and it's a close decision and Spence gets it on a split decision, or then I think he will get credit. But it's a difficult one, isn't it? It's difficult with the age and with the timing, but that's boxing for you, and that's kind of the bit that we love and hate depending on who you're supporting. Now, if you're a Spence fan, you're not going to care. You just want him to get the win, and getting a win over Pacquiao, having that on his resume, is that's always going to be a great thing. But I suppose people are always going to do that. The Pacquiao fans, and I might even do that. It depends what happens in the fight. They're always going to say if Errol does win and he beat Manny. And he beat Manny in in spectacular fashion, or Manny gets really beaten badly. People will, and I'll say it, people are going to say, well, okay, he won and he stopped him, or he won, but he didn't beat the prime Pacquiao. Pacquiao became old overnight. And that's the thing about this fight was so intriguing for all different reasons, because we really don't know what's going to happen. Obviously, we're giving our opinion. I'm staying on my opinion. I'm always going to back Pacquiao, and I've done a separate video parallel to this, given reasons why I think Pacquiao will win the fight. But obviously, looking at it honestly, it could go that way. But if Manny if he can still produce the goods at 42, and he can do what he did against Furman, he can give another great performance where he almost becomes a young man again, then I can't see Errol Spence beating an on-form Pacquiao who's just the consistent Pacquiao throughout most of the fights we've seen. But the only time I can see him beating Pacquiao is if Manny does just, on that night, he just gets old and all those fights catch up, and for whatever reason he just can't do it anymore. And I think that's something that we're going to have to accept as Pacquiao fans, or maybe some people never will. Something that I certainly won't accept. I'm a person who generally does try and face the truth and accept it, even when it isn't always a nice pill to swallow, and it's not nice. But look, I'd rather Errol winning, with no excuses on my part or anybody else's, because he's just a better man on the night, and he wins because he wins. And Pacquiao is super competitive, then Errol wins because Manny's just become too old and all the fights have... And I'm not just talking about in age, for people that are going to think, oh, it's not like I'm on about old in boxing, because he's had 71 fights, Pacquiao. This will be his 72nd fight, I believe, against Errol Spence Jr. So I don't want to see that, and although I did like Oscar De La Hoya growing up, I was a fan, thought he was a fantastic fighter, but I wanted Manny to win when they were having that fight, but it wasn't nice to see. You know, Pacquiao just destroyed him, and you know, and let's be honest, it was still a good De La Hoya, but De La Hoya wasn't in his prime. But I still think Manny Pacquiao would have beaten De La Hoya. But so that's why I'm kind of getting impatient with the anticipation. I just want this fight to happen. I really want Pacquiao to do it and prove so many of the doubters wrong. But at the same time, we have to face the reality that this can happen to anyone in boxing. I mean, I know it's an exhibition, and it shouldn't, I would never compare it. But seeing Mayweather against Logan Paul was sad for a lot of us, being that it's not the Floyd, it's not prime Mayweather anymore. And although, yeah, he still won that fight, even though there wasn't a declared winner, I still gave Mayweather 7 rounds to 1. I thought Logan Paul only won 1 round. Mayweather still beat him. He still outboxed him. He still hit him more. But Mayweather wasn't able to do the things that he could do when he was in his prime. And obviously we take into consideration it's a completely unfair weight advantage. You know, Logan Paul was pretty much a heavyweight. Mayweather was a welterweight. No, Mayweather on the night was 155 pounds. So he was a light middleweight going up against a cruiser / heavyweight, which isn't fair, which is why we have weight difference for a reason. But being that Logan Paul's a YouTuber and he's not really experienced, you expect one of the greatest fighters, in some people's opinions, to have knocked him out or stopped him or beaten him more convincingly. But anyway, that's an exhibition. But I'm just making a point of saying I hate seeing great champions get old and get beaten by someone that would probably have never beaten them in their prime, but they've beaten them on the basis that they can't do it anymore. They can't. They can see the shots, but their body can't react to it no more. And I just don't. I hope Manny, please God, he doesn't lose his speed and his power. And that's just my natural fear, because you know I want him to win, and I have that connection. He's my favourite fighter, but I'm still super confident. I don't think that's going to happen personally. I think Pacquiao is going to be awesome. I really do, but I was just thinking that, you know, I'm just trying to make as many videos as I can and get all my thoughts out and get everyone's opinion, because it's great. What, you know, we're part of something really special. We're not going to see a fight like Pacquiao, I don't think, ever again in our lifetime. Maybe the next generation. Well, obviously we're going to see great fighters, but no one to do it like he did. Or the chances are quite unlikely. You never know. You've got obviously the other great fighters, and this Inoue is looking very special, but I just can't see him, you know, no disrespect to him, I just can't see him outdoing what Pacquiao's done, unless he can move up the weight divisions and go from the weight he's at now, which is bantamweight, is at 112 pounds, all the way up until a welterweight. I just don't think he's going to be able to put that sort of size and weight on, but you never know, right? Obviously, there's great fighters there. You've got Canelo, you've got Crawford, you've got Spence. But for me, there's only one Pacquiao. But anyway, let me know in the box below what you think will happen. You know, because we know if Pacquiao wins, he's gonna get all the credit. So in that regard, it's tough on Errol Spence in a way, right? I suppose it depends on how you look at it. He's not going to care as long as he wins, because if Pacquiao wins, he's going to get so much credit, and rightly deserved, because he's 42 years of age fighting a young lion and a great. It's not just another champion. We're talking about Errol Spence here, who's looking like he's going to go down as another pound for pound great of all time if he continues winning. Right, he's certainly going to be remembered as a great fighter, but I still think he needs a few more bigger marquee names. I think they both, Spence and Errol, need each other, regardless of my opinion of what they say that they need. And you know, if Errol Spence beats Pacquiao, beats Crawford, puts on weight, goes up and beats Canelo, then he's going down as one of the greatest. He's in that argument. But for me, if he doesn't have those extra big wins, he'll just be another like fantastic fighter who's a great fighter, who will be remembered, but he won't be remembered, in my opinion, as one of the greats like Mayweather, like Pacquiao, like Sugar Ray Leonard, like, you know, Hearns Hagler, all of the obvious names. So that's my thoughts on it, right? I just wanted to get everything out of my head and get my feelings and my thought process, and I'd love to read the comments below and see how all of you see it. Look, it doesn't matter whether you're a Pacquiao fan, whether you're a Spence fan. Let me know in the box below will Errol Spence get the credit? Obviously, if we don't want that to happen, I do not want Errol to win, but if he does win, will he get the credit for beating Pacquiao at this point of his career, being that he's 42? And he's, this is his 72nd fight, and he's fought so many champions, he's been able. But listen, man, I'm going to stick on my opinion. Whether Manny wins, loses or draws, for me, he's still the greatest to ever do it, based on his achievements and how he did it and how fearless he was. And there's no shame in losing, because, you're getting beaten by someone who's younger, they're in their prime, and you've come out of your prime, but you're still on top, so it's you can't knock him. And that's why so many people respect Pacquiao, just for taking the fight. Didn't need to take this fight, had nothing to prove. Not even the fans were pressuring. Usually fighters get pressured by fans. We expect them to be like gods. That, we expect too much in most times, but none of us, even some of us, were saying probably not a good idea. But the fact that he's taken it and he doesn't need to, amazing. That's what makes him one of the greats as well. The greatest for me personally, but in some people's eye, one of the greats. But credit to Errol as well, because it takes guts. I think anyone who fights Pacquiao, it takes a lot of guts. All right, so let's talk boxing in the comments below, and I'll speak to you soon. Appreciate all the support. It's been great, by the way. I hope all of you are well.